Welcome to the Mander's Mindset Podcast. Here you'll find both monologue and interviews of entrepreneurs, coaches, healers, and a variety of other people, where your host Amanda Russo will discuss her own mindset and perspective and her guest mindset and perspective on the world around us. Manders and her guests will help explain to you how shifting your mindset will shift your life.
Welcome to Amanda's Mindset, where we explore the power of shifting your mindset to shift your life. I'm your host, Amanda Russo, and I am so excited for today's conversation. Today, I am joined with Dr. Njideka Olatunde, and she is the visionary founder of Focus on Healing Wellness Institute. And I am so excited to delve down in how she got involved with pain relief, and she became this educator, and she has helped thousands find medication-free relief from chronic pain. Thank you so much for joining me.
Amanda, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to sharing information with your audience today.
I'm so excited for it. So, who would you say Njideka is at the core?
Njideka at the core. Well, basically, I like creating. So basically, Njideka is the creative visionary behind Focus on Healing Wellness Institute.
You mentioned you like creating. Have you always liked creating?
Yes, I have. I had to look back, from childhood experiences. My first love was always writing. So I was always able to express myself in writing, and I like to write more than I like to speak. So being able to be creative in writing probably opened the door in terms of my whole life experience the journey I've been traveling on.
I love that. Can you take us down memory lane a little bit? Tell us about upbringing, childhood, your family dynamic, however deep you want to take that.
To give you a real, a fast forward to move up to the present. When I was a child, I grew up in an environment where my parents were about home remedies. So I grew up with home remedies. So that was the laying foundation for me. And back then, doctors used to come to your house. Well, how they made house calls. You didn't go to the doctor came to you because the doctor actually lived in the community. So the doctor made house calls. And so as a child, I saw a doctor as, in my mind, a healer. And I said, oh, wow, that's what I want to be when I grow up. So as I went through school, I was pursuing that vision to become a doctor. But by the time I got to college, I saw something that said, this is not how doctors are supposed to be. So no, I don't want to do that. And so what happened was I changed my major and became a social worker. And as a social worker, I covered the whole gambit of social service from infants to seniors, every social service program or that was provided, I did it. But what happened was, as a social worker, I became very concerned with the clients that I was serving. They were always going to the emergency room for their medical care. And so I said, something is wrong with this picture, and I wanted to know why. And all of a sudden, that energy came back up. Oh, I want to be a doctor. But what happened was the doors were now opening up for alternative practitioners. And so that led me to go back to school to become a naturopath. And so that allowed me to create my childhood vision of wanting to be a doctor. So I pursued that. And that's really how I got started, in terms of being able to do what I wanted to do as a child, become a doctor. And I did it through becoming a naturopath practitioner.
I love that. Now, I want to backtrack a tad. You mentioned home remedies were a big thing growing up for you. So in terms of home remedies, like the doctor would come there, but can you recall any of those home remedies that you
Well,
guys?
in my family, if we ever became ill, you always like contacted the doctor. So that was the thing. But if it was something minor, my father was the one that was really big on the herbs and all of that. So he would make up what we call concoctions back then. And he would administer them to us. And that was the thing, because one of the things I can tell you this, in the month of August, there was always a family ritual. We had to get cleansed before returning back to school. So that was called the immunization. That was how we were putting the immune system together to be able to get through the winter going to school. So that was always what we called the cast oil regimen. So we all had to go through the cast oil regimen, and then it was always chased with root beer. And so as my brother and I, we remember to this day, we don't like root beer because of the cast oil. So that was the whole thing. So that was the process that we had to go through. So it's always little things like that. And my father would come up with all kinds of herbal remedies that would be before. And this was always done before we saw the doctor. And those things worked. They worked, but it was interesting.
Oh my gosh. I love that though. That's really great because maybe herbs can't cure or help with everything, but I think they can help with a lot.
One of the things that I can say about that experience that kind of molded what I do today, I'm very big also on the cultural connection between health and wellness and healing. All of us have a culture, and we never look at the cultural connection as being a part of our healing platform. And that's one of the things I have looked at and I've seen that it plays a big role because it deals with who we are and the process that's connected with us in healing. That's why I always tell my clients, go talk to some of the older members in your family and just ask them about like the healing experiences. And you'd be surprised how effective they worked yesterday and they still work today. It's just that we have to change our whole mindset and get past the quick fix process, because that's what really has taken us out, looking at how quickly we can heal, but not understanding that whatever our health problem is, it did not happen overnight. It was a process. So how do you expect to have the relief to happen instantly?
It's completely true. I say that with everything, whatever it is. I went through a weight loss journey. Like, I didn't gain this weight in a day, in a week. You're not going to lose it in a day, in a week. Whatever it is, it's not going to happen. You're not going to snap your fingers and it's going to happen.
Exactly. I think that the problem comes from, we live in such a fast-paced society, and we're always looking for instant gratification. And so by looking for that, we apply that to everything as it relates to our health and wellness. And I think we're going to have to look at how do we work on changing our mindset, because that's where it begins. We've got to change the mindset to start looking at, what role do I play in my healing process for health and wellness? And that's one of the things I work with my clients, is getting them to understand that. I always share the example of the automobile. If the engine light comes on your car, or you hear some clanky noises or something, you take your car to the mechanic, and then you tell the mechanic, this is what's going on in my car. But the mechanic is mechanically trained to understand what you're talking about when you say this needs to be done in the car and all of that. Well, guess what? We take our bodies to the doctor the same way we take our cars to the mechanic. We come into the doctor with an ache. Oh, my back is aching. And the only thing we want is what? Pain relief. And so we go into the doctor and say, oh, my back is aching. And I don't know what's causing it. And it hurts. And I want to relief. And the first thing the doctor's going to say to you is, we're going to have to take some tests. Now, when we do the test, then I can tell you what's wrong with you. But in the meantime, here's a prescription for your pain. Now, the doctor doesn't know what's causing the pain, doesn't know what it's related, but they've got to do the test in order to determine what it is. Now, you've taken your body to the doctor and you're getting the same kind of response, just like you would do if you took your automobile to the mechanic. And so I always tell my clients, you've got to start taking responsibility for your healing process and understand that the doctor is assisting you in the healing process. That's what we do. We're not the healers. We assist you in the healing process, which means that you have to participate. And when you participate, that means you are the one that is the healer of your body. When you take charge, when you become connected with working with your practitioner one-on-one, that makes all the difference in the world.
I like that analogy. The doctor is essentially the mechanic, the body versus the car.
That's one of the things that I try to paint the picture for my clients to actually see in things that they actually do in their real life. Another thing I always tell my clients, no matter what's going on with your body, you got to understand that you're in pain because of stress. Pain and stress go hand in hand. You don't have pain without stress, and you don't have stress without pain. And you have to understand that. And once you do, now we can look at putting together a whole health and wellness regimen. One of the things that goes back to what I do. When my clients come to me, I'm really big on the power of touch as it relates to healing, because touch is something all of us are able to do in terms of restoring health and wellness to our minds, our bodies, and our spirit. And so when my clients come to me, I give them what I call the first form of touch. Because, see, we often think of touch as being something physical, but touch is a lot more than physical. It's mental, it's spiritual, it's emotional, and it's even financial. So we've got to understand touch comes in all of those categories. And so when my clients come to me, I give them the first form of touch. And the first form of touch I give them is called listening. I'm listening for them to tell me all about why they're in pain, how they got in pain, and everything that's associated with the pain. But what I'm listening for is not the pain. I'm listening for the stress. Because once I hear the stress that is the contributor to the pain, now we can start looking at me giving you what you want, what I call pain relief first before treatment, which is what I do is called touchology, reflexology. Reflexology is the therapy that I use to relieve the pain. And so the reason why I do that first is because when you go to your doctor does not spend any time listening to you. And if the doctor was to listen to you, then they would be able to be more inclined in terms of giving you what you want. Ask pain release, because the pain relief you're seeking is coming from the stress. And we must understand that the stress that you're experiencing inside your body is something that happened outside of your body that you're bringing inside your body. And when you bring stress inside your body, it starts trying to come out. And what does it do? It may try to come out in the back. And the back is going to feel pain because that's not the normal means of eliminating to relieve stress from the body. And that's why you experience the pain. So when we understand how not to internalize all the stuff that's going on outside and bringing it in, that's your first step to moving in direction of achieving optimum health and wellness. When you understand the pain-stress connection. And to relieve the pain-stress connection, you have to connect the mind, the body, and the spirit connection that works in conjunction to relieving pain and stress.
So no pain is from something other than stress.
Pain is connected to stress. Stress and pain go hand in hand. You don't have one without the other. They work collectively together.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned the multiple forms of touch. Can you reiterate what they all were?
Oh, I love that question. The multiple forms of touch. Okay, let me kind of backtrack before I share with you them. Remember, we had just come out of a pandemic for 2.5 years? And my unscientific study about the pandemic is that most of the people that made transition during that time was because of the lack of touch. Number one, I could not see my family members. That's touch. I could not put my hands on my family members. That's touch. I could not hear my family members. That is touch. And so going through that and not having that, because what? Touch is the foundation of who we are as a people. That was our first line of communication, was touch. When we entered the world, what happened? You were touched. That is the first line. So when we talk about touch, think about this. Let me give you an example. Somebody has had a really bad time and they're feeling really bad. And they're really hitting rock bottom. And all you do is go and sit beside them and just put your hand on top of theirs. And all of a sudden, they start feeling relief. That's a healing form of touch. Somebody is just overload, going through an overload, they're feeling a depressed thing, and you look at them in a calming, soothing way and smile at them, and that brings a smile to their face. That's a form of healing touch. You're going through a doorway, and all of a sudden, somebody holds the door for you to enter, and you say thank you to them. And all of a sudden, that made their day just because they heard somebody say thank you. That's a healing form of touch. It's little simple things that we can do and put back into our lives that can be a healing experience in the form of touch to someone. My favorite one is driving on the highway and it's bumper to bumper traffic, and you know you need to get over, and everybody's moving up and nobody's letting you over. And then somebody just slows back and give you enough room, and you raise your hand as a form of saying thank you. That may have made that person's day because somebody actually acknowledged them. That's a form of touch. So when you can think about little small things that we may think that they're not so significant, but they are to someone, that's how you use touch as a way of healing.
So now, these are forms of touch, even though you're not physically touching someone.
Because we only look at touch as being something physical. But touch needs to be done mentally. It needs to be done emotionally. It needs to be done spiritually. And it needs to be done financially. Touch is what relieves those problems in those areas. That's the connection. That's the mind, body, spirit connecting with the body in the form of touch. Let me give you an example that may kind of help give a little clarity about it. Remember I said I use reflexology. Now, reflexology is the physical form of touch that I use with my clients. Now, I said the first form of touch was listening, because as I'm listening and they're talking, you know what's happening? They're hearing themselves talk about the stress that's caused them to have the problem. That's what I was listening for, the stress. Now that they got that off their chest and release, what happens now, they're now ready for the reflexology to relieve the pain. Reflexology is the art and science of working the specific reflex nerve endings that's connected to the organs and systems of the body that are found in the hands, the feet, and the ears. Now, what I'm doing to relieve the pain is I work with the nerve endings. And so what we're doing is reflexing that nerve ending to open up a way for whatever is blocking that, whatever the stress that's blocking in that nerve ending that's causing the pain in the area of the body can be about moving and going through, reaching the normal channels of elimination to come out of the body. That's what reflexology does. And so you can understand if you ever look at a chart of the nervous system and you see how all the nerve endings, they begin in your head and end in your hands, feet, and ears. So there's a location, a specific nerve ending location on the hands and feet that connects to every organ in the body. Now, what a reflexology does, this is my analogy to explain it so it makes a little sense to you. In your house, if the electricity goes out, all of a sudden you just go to the circuit breaker and flip the switch. If you flip the switch and the electricity does not come on, you have to call an electrician. And so the electrician is going to come in and say, okay, we got a wiring problem. We got to connect the wires so that you can get the electricity current flowing back in your house. That's the same thing the reflexologist does with the nerve endings. What we do, we are the electrician to the body system. We activate the nerve endings. And to give an example, so you can better understand, because when you talk about the nervous system works directly with the body's communication center, which is the brain. Say, for example, I like to use this example. You hit the funny bone in your elbow. What's the first thing you're going to do?
I don't know.
The first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, ouch. You're going to say, oh, you're going to do a verbal response. That's the first thing you're going to do. And when you do the verbal response, then message goes up the nerve ending to the brain. Relief, there's pain and trauma in the elbow. And then what's the next thing you're going to do? You're going to rub it. And when you rub it, message goes up through the nerve endings to the brain. Release the body's natural pain relievers, which are known as endorphins. And the endorphins operate in the nerve endings through the nervous system the same way as the pain medication. The only difference is the pain medication numbs the nerve endings, whereas using reflexology, it's sending the endorphins to that area to bring about the body's natural pain reliever to relieve that area. And all of a sudden you start feeling better in terms of pain relief. And so that's the process that is used in terms of what I usually refer to as relieving pain first before treatment, using medication-free alternative to pain medicine, specifically the opiates, as it relates to numbing the nerve endings.
That's so true, though. Like, even if it's not our elbow that we bump, even if it's your toe, that you stub your toe, the first thing most people do is you're saying ouch, or I'm saying a swear word. Like,
Exactly. That's why I said verbal release. It could be nice, it could be not so nice. We do a verbal release.
But yeah, we do. And even if it's like not the elbow, no matter what it is, there was a verbal release is the first thing that anybody does.
And see, that's the communication. See, that's how the nerve endings are communicating to the brain. We got trauma in an area of the body and something needs to be done. And so the brain does what it's supposed to do with it through the communication that comes through the nerve endings. The body is a miraculous machine. We don't give it credit for what it is. It has the ability to heal itself, and that's what it does.
And so rubbing it, whatever the body part is, does start to relieve it.
That's right. That's what it does. And that's the power of touch. That's how powerful the touch is. And I want to share with your audience, everybody on here has done reflexology and you don't know that you've done it. If you remember, can go back and remember as a child, or if you are a parent or a guardian of a child, you do a little thing called this little piggy. And when you did this little piggy on the toes, because all of the nerve endings to the head are in the toes and in the finger. So when you were turning that little toe and saying a little thing about this little piggy, with the baby, what you've done is you activate. The baby is hyper and need to calm down. The baby will start calming down. The baby may start laughing, or the baby may even decide to go to sleep because you activated that nerve ending in the toes to give the baby what it needed at that particular time. It's basic. It's very basic.
I like that analogy as well of another example of doing reflexology, because most of us, I'm sure, have done this little piggy or remember it being done to us, or have done it, even if it's not to our own kid. Oh my gosh. I never would have pulled that example out of my head, even though I could tell you the whole, wow.
That is because, see, the thing we have to understand is we have to learn how to start respecting our body. And when we respect our bodies, we give power to it, and it will take care of us. It will do what it needs to do. And if you think about it, when you're in pain, remember I told you about pain and stress go hand in hand. Think about it. Pain does not come forceful overnight. It's a process. Remember I told you stress is connected to the pain. So something happened outside the body. We brought it in and, we logged it inside the body and didn't deal with it. And all of a sudden, we got a little minor pain and we say, it's a little uncomfortable, but I'll deal with it. Okay, it doesn't bother you. Then all of a sudden, you may get another stress factor and that'll agitate it. And all of a sudden, the pain starts coming back a little more force. Oh, this is a little bit unbearable. Well, let me go take some pain medication for this and try to stop it. Then you get another stress factor that comes and hits you. And then the pain comes back full force and says, you didn't pay attention when I was giving you the mild approach. Now I got to give you the hard approach in order for you to deal with it. And that's when you put yourself in a situation. Now we're moving into what can be classified as a health challenge known as an illness. That's the process. That's how it starts. And we have to understand the importance of taking care of our bodies by listening. The body will always tell you what's going on. It doesn't just all of a sudden say, I'm going to forsake you. I'm giving you a little warning, before I have to ask for some serious relief that you're refusing to give to me.
That makes a lot of sense. And I can think of so many different examples, like how you mentioned it starts as a mild approach and we don't listen. Or even some people may rest whatever the ailment is temporarily, but we don't fully listen to it.
That's our problem. And listening is what? A form of touch. When you're listening, you're opening yourself up for the healing process that you have inside of you. And that's what's important. And we don't understand that.
Do you have suggestions for people to listen to their bodies more?
The suggestion that I would offer, I'm going to tell your audience something. It's called getting out of the box. You got to step out the box. What happens is when we become adults, we become so serious about life. Everything is so serious. We've got to be so structured. And when we get serious and structured, it causes havoc in our lives. And what we need to do, and I always tell my clients, you need to find some time to let that little girl and little boy inside of you come out and play. When you do that, you'd be surprised how much you can relieve stress that's going on. I usually tell them, pick a day and call it your silly day. Be silly. And it doesn't matter who's looking at you. It doesn't matter what people think. It's your day to be silly. Say, this is my fun day. This is my day that I am going to just do something that nobody would ever think that I was able to do. I'm freeing myself today by being the little girl I used to be as a child, or the little boy I used to be as a child. We need to really spend time with children if we allow them to not take on our in the box being structured. See, that's the other thing that's happening too. We're causing our children to be structured, and they're missing out on the fun of what I call being a creative child.
Mm-hmm. A fun or a silly day.
And don't care what anybody thinks about it, because it's you. It doesn't matter. It's you. This is your time. And you can say, this is how I heal myself. This is my healing experience for today.
Would you say that's similar to tapping into their inner child?
Sure. Sure it is. We need to do that. We really need to do that. They say one of the best forms of healing is having a good belly laugh. That is a real healer. And that's a cleansing healer when you can have a good belly laugh, when you got something that made you laugh so hard that your stomach is hurting. You know that you have delved deep. You went real deep with that, because now the body has a whole vibration of releasing everything that's all locked up inside of it.
Now, what if somebody is listening to us and they're not sure what a silly day or a fun day would look like to them, or where to even begin with that?
Doing something that's totally abnormal for you. And if it makes you feel good doing it, that's what it is. You have to don't think about it. Just do it. Just step out the box and just do it. Whatever it is.
I was thinking too much.
That's the problem. Don't think about it. Just step out the box and do it. Even if it meant, okay, I'm going to go out here today and I'm going to hug a tree. That's something I'm going to do today. I'm going to hug a tree. Or if I'm going to go outside or just say, today's the day I'm going to you know, what is it? The little bat, the bat and ball. If I'm going to like hit a bat and ball, this is what I used to do as a child. I'm going to hit this. How many times can I hit this today? Anything, just think about something that was fun for you as a child that you like to do. Even if you don't ever go out in your yard, let me kick a ball. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run around the yard kicking a ball today. Anything that will be childlike. And when I say childlike, that means you're being creative. You're coming up with something real creative that can be fun for you. You're letting go of being serious. That's all it is. You're letting go of being serious and questioning everything. Stop the questioning. The questioning is what's hurting you because it's structured. It's got you locked in so that you can't really see all of the beauty that's all around you and that's inside of you, because when you're structured, it doesn't allow for that.
The structure doesn't allow for that. And you think that would help them listen to themselves and their bodies better?
Sure, it would. It really would. Because of the mere fact of the matter, because now you're listening to the child inside, not the structure from the box.
I get that. I get what you're saying. I want to transition back a tad. When you were talking about the multiple types of touch, you mentioned financial touch. And I am so curious about what exactly that means, entails, or what that is.
Okay, let me tell you when I say financial touch. The number one problem that causes all or the majority of our health challenges is finances. It's called financial pain. Financial pain is the contributor of the majority of our pain stress connection. It centers around finances. And when you look at that, you have to look at how you connect with finances. And it's not your fault, because we live in a society that doesn't educate us about the financial pain. Big Pharma does not have anything that cures financial pain. And so you struggle each and every day with financial pain, something we don't talk about. And so when I say touch as it relates to finances, that begins with our mindset and how we are connected to money. And we change our thinking about money, we can now move into the healing process to relieve financial pain. So that's a whole nother avenue, but that's a big pain, because guess why people go to work every day? They only go to work every day for one reason: benefits. When somebody's getting ready here, they're going to lose their job. What's the first thought? What's the first stress thing that's coming up in their life? How do I take care of myself health-wise? I don't have the finances. So now I'm in financial pain. And with that financial pain, it's going to do what? Affect my health.
Wow.
And there's no medication for financial pain. And so we suffer that one out. And we don't have to, because there's a way to relieve it. We don't have to. But see, that deals with that's about dealing with touching the mind. We got to do a mindset change.
And how do you think we do a mindset change?
First of all, we have to be open to looking at how we understand money. And when we understand how we use money, or understand our understanding of money, it's always going to go back to your family connections. the messages you heard growing up about money. And when you think about that, you've got to look at, I've got to change that. Now, that's where you have to start doing some changing. And that's called money mind cleansing. You got to do a cleansing of the money mindset. Like we cleanse our body. See, that's another process. So if you want to relieve the financial pain, we got to go through a money mindset cleansing.
That makes a lot of sense. And it makes so much sense that you mentioned it's about things you heard in the upbringing, things you heard in childhood about money.
Yeah.
I feel like things we have heard in childhood, even in terms of pain and even in terms of health, can affect our health and how we treat it, if we treat it, what we do, based on things we heard in the upbringing.
That's very true. And that's why I remember, I told you I like focusing on the cultural connection because we've got to understand it. Because all that we heard growing up is based on our culture. And it's not about it was bad. It's just an extension from one generation to the next in terms of, so now for us, what's going to be our cultural connection that we pass on? You don't have to be stuck in what you heard as a child because you evolve. We're supposed to be evolving. So you're supposed to take it to the next level. Your children, they will get it, what you give to them, but they'll take it to the next. We've got to start taking things to the next level and not just staying stuck in one place, because what happened yesterday was good for yesterday does not mean it's going to apply today, because what you do today should be in preparation for tomorrow, not that you take today into tomorrow.
I like that. Today should be in preparation for tomorrow, but not that you take today into tomorrow. I like that even just as a quote. Whatever it is that happened today, like you leave it in today, you prepare for tomorrow, but you don't take the bullshit from today into the next day.
Exactly. Because it's evolution. We're evolving. Because when you step into tomorrow, that's a whole new day with a whole new experience for you to go through. It's not going to be like yesterday. It's going to be something all entirely different, because that's what life is. Life is called the school of life. It's lessons. It teaches you. That's what it does. It's a new lesson you learn. When you step into tomorrow, you got a new lesson to learn. Now, to qualify that, if you did not learn that lesson yesterday, you're going to have to repeat it again today, because you only get a new lesson when you learn it. That's the whole thing. So it's going to keep coming back at you. That's when you keep wondering, why do I keep going through the same thing over and over? Because you did not learn that lesson. And when you learn the lesson, then you become new. But that's what life does. It's teaching you. You are here to learn a lesson. And as you learn the lesson, you move on to the next one and the next one. And I always work with young people. I tell them probably the hardest lesson learning time is in your 20s, because it's going to kick your behind from 20 all the way to 29. And if you think about your 20s,
I'm 49 right now.
You went through some trying times in your 20s because everything is constantly changing. Now, when you get to your 30s, you start mellowing out because you've learned a lot in your 20s. But from 20 to 29, understand, because remember now, you're transitioning from a child to a teen, from a teen to an adult. This is your grooming process into adulthood. But for you, my dear one, the thing for you is, now that you know the secret, get back to your fun time. Don't lose the little girl spirit. Don't lose it. Carry it with you as you're moving forward, because that's your healing process.
That makes a lot of sense.
Because, I honor you. Let me tell you why. I think your generation We need to start paying attention. That's why I don't want you to get in the box and be stuck, because you got a lot of ideas. You have a lot of energy in terms of leading us to where we need to go, because you're our future leaders. You're our future teachers. You're our future healers. It's my generation that needs to stop trying to tell you all what you need to do. What we need to do is do the first form of touch. Start listening to what you have to say, because you'll be surprised. I learned so much from you all, because you all are bright. This is your generation. This is your time. I'm not the tech savvy one. You all are, because that's what you grew up on. That's the environment you're in. And so I say we need to spend some time listening to you and just be there to support and encourage you as you take us to the next level of where life is supposed to be headed.
You mean?
And that's the thing, because you're moving into the leadership position now. Now you're getting ready to hit that 30 mark. You're getting ready to, that's the time you start taking charge. So that's when you are the ones that say, this is what we are going to be doing from here on out. That's when it starts, at that age.
Oh,
Okay.
oh my gosh. Wow. I'm so fascinated by multiple forms of touch. I had never heard of that ever before, ever. I'd love to transition back a tad.
I wanted to start my own health business. And that's what, trust me, I didn't know anything about business, didn't know what I was doing, anything, but I did it. I just stepped out and did it. And that was, I guess, like, for me, it's always, that's the creative side, like, stepping out. I don't bit more know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try it anyway. And that back at that was a brick and mortar business. It was, because, you didn't have the internet, you didn't have any that was brick and mortar. And so it became harder for me when we all had to start switching to the internet, because that was like totally, wow, what is this? It was, my whole problem was the language. I'm talking one way, you're telling me this is what needs to be done. I'm thinking it's this way because that's how I understand the language, but that's not the internet language. And so that was the whole process. But it was like, really, I had always wanted to be a business owner. I liked entrepreneur, in terms of that, because I wanted to be able to do things my way. That's why I didn't become a doctor, because I'd have been blackballed instantly if I hadn't gone that route, because I can't do it this way. This is not how, I see it needs to be done. It's better for me to go into social work. That way I can follow the structure of the social work system, because you have a little more leniency to be creative in social work than I would have if I went to be a doctor.
That makes sense. But wow, that's amazing that you had somebody in your life that you kind of saw embodying with his own business, even though it wasn't like on the internet and the way it is today. Like, you got to see what you were hoping to have.
Exactly. And that's all it is. It's like, you just got to step out there and don't be hard on yourself, because see, the thing that happens when you step out, it allows you to grow. It allows you to really connect with who you are. Going through all of those years and going through that experience, I really got to know who I am. And I'm probably better at it now than I was back then, because I wasn't understanding everything. Because we're talking about entering a whole new world. I wasn't connected to the internet and all of that at all. That was totally foreign. So that was a whole mind change there in terms of, okay, now we got to do everything on a computer, and this doesn't, what happened to paper and pencil? What happened? All of that was like really foreign coming in. But I'll share this with you. Everything that I know about the internet, I'm self-taught, because I had to teach myself how to do all these things that we now do on the internet. And so, but that was a growth process. It was not easy. It was frustrating at times, but it was a learning process. And we have to always be a student of life. That's what I say. When you become a student of life, that keeps you in the learning mode where you're always interested in learning new things.
I completely agree about being a student in life. Like, regardless of how old you are or what you do, any of the above, I feel like there's always something we can all learn each and every day.
Definitely.
Now, I'm curious. I tend to ask most of the guests this, but a lot of people have experienced multiples of these throughout their life. But I'm curious what the biggest aha moment was that you've experienced in your life.
I guess I'm going to say my biggest aha moment was being able to celebrate 40 years of what I do. And I had a colleague, I hadn't even thought about it. All of a sudden I was doing something. I looked up on the calendar, oh, wow, I've been doing this for 40 years. I didn't even know about it. And I had a colleague say, well, you need to do a celebration. You need to have, I never thought about that. And so I put together a celebration of all the people because originally, for a number of years, I taught and certified healthcare practitioners to do reflexology. So I was an instructor. And I created my own school to teach others to do reflexology. And that's a part of that, the whole 40-year experience, as well as being in private practice. And I think the aha moment came when everybody came to the celebration and everybody was talking about the influence that I had on their lives in terms of what they were doing now. And that was so overwhelming because as a social worker, we touch a lot of people's lives. But you never, ever get to see the people's lives that you touch in terms of you're working with them. And so it was like, for me, I'm still having my social work hat on and everybody's talking about all the things that I had done for them in terms of introducing them to reflexology and working with them and seeing their practice. And that was like really, I would say, probably the highlight is the contribution that I was able to make because I always looked upon them as like, they're my children who have now grown up and they're doing their own thing now. And that was a real honor and proof. So that's what I would say would probably be my real highlight moment.
Wow, that's beautiful. And you didn't even realize it was 40 years.
No. No, I did.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, yes, definitely. Because it's something I enjoy doing. I never even thought about the years that was connected with it.
That is so beautiful. I love that. Do you have a suggestion for people if they want to tap into using reflexology more for pain as opposed to pharmaceutical medications?
What I would suggest with everyone, I'm not going to condemn pharmaceutical, conventional medicine because it has a purpose. It was created for a purpose. It has a purpose. But I say for anybody as it relates to medication, be proactive, do your research what it is. Look, make sure you understand it as it relates to your body chemistry in terms of, because remember, medication is designed, it's one thing for a specific illness that's given to everybody. And you need to be able to understand, does your body chemistry correspond with that? And it's important to ask the question. That's what I would say. But in terms of, as it relates to pain, everyone can use reflexology. Consider using that first before you use pain medication, because you don't want to numb the nerve endings. You want the nerve endings to stay active in terms of the process. And I'll give you a little demonstration right now, a little quickie that you can do no matter what it is. You see the palm of your hand and see with my thumb here, with your thumb, you bend your thumb like this. So like it's walking, you bend your thumb and then you take your thumb and put it on the palm of your hand, starting at your wrist. And then you just do like a walking motion, going over the palm, walking the whole palm all the way to the base of the fingers. And get in the habit of doing that. The reason why I say You don't know the specific reflex points, but just doing that helps to relieve pain. It helps to relax the body. It brings it calming down. So once you can start calming your body down, the pain is not so intense. You're able to relax. And when you do that, also breathe. Do a deep breathe. And just get in the habit. Whenever you start, if you got a headache or something, you start feeling the pain, just get in the habit. Make this be your habit. What I call walk the palm of the hand. Just walk the palm of your hand. And on the back of your hand, you can take your 4 fingers and do the same thing on the back of the hand. So your thumb is walking the palm and your fingers are walking the back of your hand. Just get in the habit of just doing the walking to calm yourself down and use that as a way to start relaxing the body, deep breathing, and then drink some water, because that way you can flush out your system too at the same time as well. So that's a little tidbit in terms of to help you, as what I say, relieve pain first before treatment.
Okay. I like that. Thank you. And it makes a lot of sense that you mentioned about do your research, see the side effects of the medication, see what it exactly even is, because I feel like, and I'm not a doctor, so I don't know definitively, but I feel like in this day and age, pharmaceuticals are pretty quickly prescribed, that I kind of see them as like they're almost being thrown around. I feel like a lot of doctors are quick to offer a pharmaceutical before some other alternative.
Well, you got to remember now, we talk about the amount of time that you spend with your doctor. You don't spend a lot of time because you don't talk to them. But my suggestion to your listeners, make the doctor spend time and start asking questions. And the first question you can ask is, when most of the time they tell you there's always, side effects? They give you published side effects for your medication. Ask your doctor about those side effects as it relates to your particular health condition. Ask about them. And don't be afraid to ask about the side effects. That's where you can start. That's how you can start your questioning in terms of get them to talk to you about the medication, the side effects, and what are the alternatives. Do I actually need this? Is there something else that I could be doing? Get them to do that. And if you find something that you want to do, don't ask permission. Tell them, I'm going to try this. Don't ask the doctor for the permission, can I do this? Because remember, it's your body. You are the healer. You tell them, this is a course that I'm taking in addition to what you are telling me to do. Be proactive.
That's really true. And I love how you mentioned don't ask permission, because I think so many people, and I'm speaking generally, but so many people are like, I'm going to see what the doctor thinks about this, but it is your body. So you're the one who has to live with it, whether it works out great or it don't work out great. Like, it's not affecting the doctor.
Right.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a great suggestion about starting with asking them about the side effects to open up the dialogue even more.
Right. And that's an easy one to get started for conversation. Then you can start talking about, and then the next thing you want to know is, what part of my body is my illness in? And what can I do to strengthen it if it needs to be strengthened? Or what can I do to cleanse it if it needs cleansing? Because there's only 2 things. It's either cleansing or strengthening. That's what's needed in terms of your healing process.
I'm so fascinated with the multiple types of touch. I'm so like blown away at that. It makes a lot of sense, but I've never heard it explained this way.
It's something that we know, but we don't want to accept because it's not the normal means of conversation. That's why I say go talk to your elders. And you'd be surprised. That will be a healing touch for them to be able to go back in memory lane and talk about how they healed. Because remember, now they're on medication. And our elders are the ones that take the most amount of medication. And that's something that, we need to look at that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying it's like, it needs to be monitored like everything else. We're not asking the questions in terms of we're getting the diagnosis, but we're not asking the questions about our body in relationship to the diagnosis. That's what needs to happen. We need to start talking.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. We need to talk more and we need to listen more.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what brings about the healing process.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Well, before we end, I want to share something with you. I come from the African tradition, and our culture is when you visit someone's home for the first time, you bring a gift. And I have a gift for you and your audience. I have put together a medication addiction-free pain relief poster for your guests. And all you have to do is go to reflexology.com and download my gift to you with spending this time listening to me. That's what I give to you and your audience. And then the next thing I would say is my website is focusonhealing.com. And I invite you to go to my website and go to the contact page and write down any questions or comments that you may have about pain relief, medication-free pain relief. And I would be more than happy to respond to your questions or comments. I like to hear from you. So that's what I suggest you go. And that way we can be connected and I can assist you in that healing process. And also I have a book, which is on my website too. It's called Reflexology Today, A Family Affair. And it's in hard copy and it's also in ebook, download copy as well. So you can get that on the line. And anyone who purchases the book, you're also entitled to a consultation with me in terms of how to use the book for your particular health problem. I'm saying bear with me because this is my nighttime, so I'm winding down. So that's why I'm fumbling right now. But you're entitled to that. So it's available on focusonhealing.com. And again, I thank you for having me as your guest to share with your audience. And my closing remark to everyone is to just remember that the power of touch heals all.
Thank you so much. I will link all of that in the show notes for everybody to click directly. I really appreciate it. Have you heard of a man named Jay Shetty?
That name sounds familiar.
So he's a former monk, a motivational speaker, an author. He's got a podcast. He's famous. Doesn't matter if you know him or not. But in his podcast, he ends his podcast with 2 segments. And I really like those segments. So I've incorporated them into mine. And so I end mine with those 2 segments. The first one is the many sides to us. And there's 5 questions. And they need to be answered in 1 word each. What is 1 word someone who was meeting you for the first time would choose to describe you as?
A listener.
What is 1 word someone who knows you extremely well would choose to describe you as?
Passionate.
What is 1 word you choose to describe yourself?
A visionary.
What is 1 word that if someone didn't like you or agree with your mindset would choose to describe you as?
Complicated.
What is one word you're trying to embody right now?
Empowerment.
Second segment is the final 5, and these can be answered in a sentence. What is the best advice you've heard or received?
Be thankful.
Why is that the best?
Because being thankful opens the door for you to receive what you are created to be. It begins with being thankful.
What is the worst advice you've heard or received?
The worst advice I've ever received is putting everybody else ahead of myself instead of putting me first, doing for everybody else. Feeling the need to have to do for everybody else instead of taking care of myself first.
What is something that you used to value that you no longer value?
Being concerned about how everybody may feel about me.
If you could describe what you would want your legacy to be as if someone was reading it, what would you want it to say?
I'd want my legacy to say that I was able to empower people to be able to take back control of their lives from passing on generational illness instead of generational health and generational poverty instead of generational wealth. That's what I want my legacy to be known as. That's what I empowered people to do.
If you could create one law in the world that everyone had to follow, what would it be? And I want to know why.
If I had one law, the law that I would create for everybody would be being able to take back control of their lives, because health is wealth and wealth is health. And the reason is because it's your birthright to have both. That should be the law.
Why would that be the law?
Because it's your birthright. You were born to have it. You were created to have it. And there should be no human side that could take that away from you. That needs to be the understood law. That's the universal law.
I like that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
I thank you. It's been my pleasure.
I'd like to give it back to the guests. Any final words of wisdom? Anything else you want to share with the listeners?
The one thing I would share with everybody in terms of no matter what you're going through, when you wake up in the morning, let the first thing be thank you. Show gratitude, give thanks. That should be the first thing, and that will make your day. As soon as you open your eyes, just say thank you.
I love that. I love that so much. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Amanda's Mindset. In case no one told you today, I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And you got this. As always, if you enjoyed the show, I would really appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star rating, leave a review, and share it with anyone you think would benefit from this. And don't forget, you are only one mindset shift away from shifting your life. Thanks, guys. Until next time.